Hello. Alright, so this is gonna be the video about me answering a question I got asked by one of my subscribers from William of Orange. So yeah, and I think it's quite an interesting question. So this is gonna be more of a ramble video. He asked, is it possible to uproot chaos? For example, if one were to launch a war of ethnic cleansing against northern chaos tribes, the influence of chaos would probably decline due to less chaos worshippers because they're dead. Thus, one could in theory colonize the north, just supplant chaos worshippers with worshippers of something else, Sigmar, Cain, Gork, Morg, etc. Alright, so in my opinion, it is a pretty complex question. In my opinion, it is pretty much impossible to fully eradicate chaos. The problem is with chaos, chaos itself feeds on raw emotion. So essentially, if, for example, a dog, let's say, I don't know, or a chaos war mammoth, because that's the video where he asked this question, the chaos war mammoth, for example, is already feeding into chaos and giving the chaos gods power by its insane rage when, I don't know, faced by a chaos champion that is trying to kill him, or just some random guy, or I don't know, because pretty much a chaos war mammoth is gonna get upset or angry or get into a huge rage from about pretty much anything, and that's already feeding into the chaos god. So you pretty much just need a little bit of emotion. And that's all the Chaos Gods need for them to gain some power. Even if it is just a little. So, to put it short, to get to the point, that's why I think the only way to get rid of chaos entirely would be to fully eradicate every single living creature, being, whatever you want to call it, every single one. That's the only way. And then even plants, I mean even plants are questionable, because even they can be corrupted. So, what you would need to have in order for chaos to be fully eradicated would be to essentially completely nuke the world in whatever way possible, just to completely, so that in the end the only thing that is left is a complete barren, lifeless wasteland. That's, in my opinion, that's the only thing that would essentially eradicate chaos too. Because chaos is as dependent on living creatures as they are disdainful of them or disrespectful of them. They need living creatures. They need living beings because they give them all their power. And then, also one thing, I'm not really sure about this point, but since chaos does seem to be an otherworldly power, maybe even from a parallel universe, who's not to say that even if the Warhammer Fantasy planet were to be eradicated in some alternate future, who's not to say that the chaos powers would not simply find another world, another realm where they could start the whole process, the whole thing all over again. Alright, so that's my answer, pretty much my answer to the first part of his question. If you have more questions, you can leave them in the comments. I'm very happy to answer them. So, the next point of his question is, that I'm going to try to answer, is, would it be a good solution to essentially start an invasion of Norsca and to commit genocide? I mean, that's pretty much, yeah, genocide. To genocide the whole Norscan race, or even the Kurgans and the Hung as well. Every single, let's just put every single race in there that's actively worshipping the Chaos Gods. Alright, so to answer that one, this one, I think that actually by doing this, you would actually give the Chaos Gods even more power than if you were to not invade Norsca and eradicate all these races, essentially. And the reason, well, even if, let's say, the elves of Ulthuan, the humans, the dwarves, would all come together and hold hands and be allies and would all decide together to essentially start an invasion of Norsca. Alright, so first of all, to invade Norsca is utter madness. Utter madness. I mean, the only reason why there even are Norscans is because they worship the Chaos Gods. Without them, they wouldn't survive 2 seconds in Norsca. It's just, Norsca is a complete frozen wasteland full of huge, terrifying creatures that could just crush humans like bugs, and just overall, frost worms everywhere, huge giants. I mean, it's just pretty much unlivable. Again, the only reason why there even are humans in this cesspit is because they do worship the Chaos Gods, and the Chaos Gods, in a way, because they give them their blessings and they corrupt the inhabitants and give them power, essentially, even more power than, and make them into these huge hulking brutes that are resistant to all kinds of things. That's the only reason they even live there. And even then, many Norscans die, or countless Norscans die of, yeah, because of all these hazardous living conditions, so to say. And so again, so just to actually start an invasion, and to think that the pretty nobles of the empire would, oh my god, I mean, they would just, if they were to step foot in that hellhole, I mean, damn, they wouldn't survive 2 seconds. I mean, even Sigmar Heldenhammer, the goddamn God King, had to retreat back because, I mean, it was just impossible. Even logistically speaking, it's just an impossibility to get through all this snow, all these mountains. And then, to the next point, the Norscans would wage a defensive war in that case, which would mean they know their country. Their country is already a complete cesspit, a hellhole, and a terrible place. And then the attackers would then attack them on their terrain. You know? And the Norscans themselves are one of the most powerful warriors in the whole Warhammer Fantasy universe. And then, usually, they're the ones attacking. They're the ones attacking usually they are the ones attacking their foes on their own territory. You know? So if they were to fight a defensive war on their own turf, I mean, you can just imagine. It's gonna be a slaughterfest. A complete slaughterfest. And then the next point, the next advantage they would have is just because they are so close to the chaos portals, the polar gates, so to say, the polar chaos gates. They have it pretty easy to draw on when it comes to magic, essentially, to draw from this power. I mean, they just have it right next to them. It's like, I don't know, grabbing the air, essentially. They grab the air and they already have the magical power at hand. So let's say, hypothetically, the invasion were to succeed, even if it is complete madness and utterly insane and pretty much impossible. And as far as I know, there has never been, since Sigmar Heldenhammer, there has never been a Norscan invasion. Or a invasion into Norska. So that just shows you, or shows us, that, yeah, no one in their right mind would try to invade this hellhole. Alright, so let's just say, hypothetically, one were to not only be able to invade Norska, but also to defeat them all, and, in the end, to completely genocide them. So, okay. There is a huge problem with that. Now, the problem is, by genociding an entire race, you would actually feed and give the Chaos powers even more power. Why? Well, because you would be feeding Khorne, because Khorne just loves every single form of bloodshed. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if his own servants are getting killed, if, I don't know, some creature right around the corner is getting slaughtered. He doesn't care, as long as there is some form of bloodshed. And genociding an entire race, I mean, what more could he ask for? That's all the bloodshed you would need. Then, when it comes to Slaanesh would probably, I mean, just think about, it's probably something not many people would talk about, but just think about, you know, all the riches, these great fortresses, and all these great riches that are hidden in Norska. And then when it comes to the Norskans themselves, how many people have they wronged in the past? I mean, many people in the Empire would probably have a bone to pick with the Norskans, and many Bretonnians as well. Almost every single human nation, human realm, would have something against the Norskans. So they would most likely, or many of them, would most likely gain some sort of pleasure from killing the Norskans, from eradicating them, which again would then feed into Slaanesh's power, because, again, as with Khorne, Slaanesh doesn't care about where he gets his power from. He doesn't care if it's an Imperial, a Bretonnian, an elf, a dwarf. He doesn't give a damn. The only thing he cares about is the raw emotion, the raw sensations of pleasure, pain, you name it. Alright? So, to him it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to him if that's what it takes. if Norscans have to be slaughtered and eradicated, in order for by Imperials or Bretonnians, and they would gain some kind of sick satisfaction from it, then that's what it takes. Slaanesh doesn't care. Alright? And then we come to the greed part. You know, with all the riches there is in Norsca, and all these nations, Bretonnians, Imperials, Elves, they would surely squabble over all the riches one could take from this continent. And then Slaanesh would then again be able to manipulate, corrupt, and feed on this greed. Then, when you get to the pillaging, raiding, the raping of the women, I mean, just all kinds of pleasures and sensations are going to, strong sensations are going to come out of this genocide. Alright, so that's Slaanesh. Now, Tzeentch, I mean, it's pretty much with every Chaos God, it's the same. Tzeentch doesn't care where the change, or what change it is, so long as it is change. So long as he can scheme, he can uproot the order of things. He can depose a monarch, he can, I don't know, he can change a whole societal structure. He doesn't care who does it, where it happens, he doesn't give a damn. So, by eradicating a whole race, and especially the Norscans, I mean, that would bring about more change, or, I mean, maybe not the most, although I can't really, well, the only event I could compare it to would be the end of the Old Ones. So, that was a whole genocide. So, and what that brought with it was it gave the Chaos Gods so much power that they in fact now are as powerful as they are. I mean, that's the whole point. That's the whole reason they are as powerful as they are. The genocide of the Old Ones. And the Norscans, I mean, how many would there be? I mean, probably not as many people as there are in the Empire, maybe, but still thousands upon thousands, many souls. And how many would die in trying to invade Norsca? It's gonna be tens of thousands of people dead. So, the change that would bring with it, I mean, again, it would give Tzeentch a whole ton of power. Because again, he doesn't care about where the change comes from, who brings the change, he doesn't care. So long as there is change, so long as he can scheme and manipulate and gain knowledge too. And so that's Tzeentch covered, I think. Yeah, and just think about all the possibilities, all the squabbling that could ensue by eradicating the Norscans. Who's gonna get all this territory? Who's gonna get this? Who's gonna get that? And so on and so forth. Who's gonna get this castle? And who's gonna be the ruler of this territory? And so on and so forth. I mean, endless possibilities. The genocide of the Norscans would actually create endless possibilities for Tzeentch to scheme and corrupt and gain knowledge. To again then scheme and bring about some other change. And then, for the final one, I mean, Nurgle is pretty much self-explanatory. Just think about how many Norscans, by trying to genocide them, how many Norscans would run begging to Nurgle to be able to survive. I mean, it's just... And then the Imperials, the Bretonnians, being in this harsh waste, a frozen wasteland full of creatures, of terrifying abominations, of people's worst nightmares. Just think about how many Imperials would flock to Nurgle to be able to survive in this travesty, in this hell. So I think Nurgle is pretty much self-explanatory. I mean, Nurgle would probably have, I'd say that Khorne and Nurgle, I'm not sure who would gain the most, but definitely these two would gain the most out of this. So in conclusion, and that's gonna be it then for the video. In conclusion, I think, yeah, it's pretty much impossible to eradicate chaos. And starting a invasion of Norsca is total suicide, and even if one were to succeed, one would actually empower the chaos powers. And so in the end, the only thing one can really do, and that's something, or one of the things one can theorize when it comes to 40k, the Warhammer 40k universe, what the Emperor was trying to do. And that was to weaken the chaos powers as much as humanly possible. And I think that's the only real way of not really defeating the chaos powers, but I mean, there is no way of defeating the chaos powers. So I just think the only possible way, the only possible solution, or the only possible thing one can do is try to weaken the chaos powers as much as possible. But even then, when you go too far, when you try too much, as we can see with the Emperor, you actually create that which you are trying to eradicate. So, and in this case, when you genocide an entire race like the Norscans, by doing so, I think you would actually become them. You would actually be worse than the Norscans, because the Norscans, you can say about the Norscans what you want, but they don't genocide people. They don't go into Bretonnia and just fucking butcher every single living being that can't run away, alright? That has legs, okay? They don't go around butchering everything. So they leave many people alive, they use them as slaves, they want to have a challenge in the future, they want to get riches in the future, so it's just also an economical thing. They can't kill off everyone, because then they're going to starve, because the Norscans don't really have an economy except whaling, pretty much, so they don't grow their own crops, really, they don't really have anything, so they live by pillaging, looting from other nations. So, by eradicating them, and by genociding them, you would actually be worse than them. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. So yeah. So in conclusion, the only thing you really can do, in my opinion, is to weaken the powers to the maximum. But even then, that's gonna be a very, very, very difficult task, and damn, good luck. Good luck to the one, because you would need, when it comes to the Warhammer Fantasy Universe, you would need to get the elves, the dwarves, all the different dwarven holdings, all the elves, the arrogant as F elves. I mean, that's gonna be a huge task in and of itself. All these squabbling human nations, you would have to get all these together, the Slan, the Lizard Men, all of them. You would need to get them together. And that in and of itself, I mean, maybe it's not impossible, but it's pretty damn close to it. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. Let me know if you like this kind of format, if you like me talking about these topics. Yeah, that's about it. And the last thing, I really like these questions, so bring 'em. Might do some, if this goes well, if you like this format, I might do some more of these videos. So, of me just rambling about stuff. So, well, that's it then. The end.